Broadcasting live from the Albay PIO News Center, providing you the most exclusive news update from all over the province. This is News at 12. News at 12.
In the local scene, Albay officials marked World Wildlife Day with a renewed call to protect the province's biodiversity for future generations. The celebration carried the global theme, Medicinal and Aromatic Plants Conserving Health, Heritage and Livelihoods, highlighting the vital role of plant resources in supporting public health, livelihood and ecological balance. Albay Park and Wildlife Manager and veterinarian Dr. Franz V. Colombo stressed that protecting wildlife and plant life today ensures that future generations can continue to see and benefit from them. He added that conserving habitats of medicinal and aromatic plants also safeguards hunting grounds and nesting sites of birds of prey across the region. The agency urged residents to report illegal wildlife trade and take part in reforestation efforts to help sustain Albay's natural heritage. In other story, 32 households in Barangay 10 Kabuga were profiled by the Albay Provincial Human Settlement Office as part of the province's in-city resettlement program. The activity aims to identify and validate qualified families who may be relocated to safer and more secure housing within Legazpi City. Officials said the profiling supports ongoing efforts to help informal settler families transition to decent and stable living conditions. Data gathered will be used to assess eligibility and guide the planning and implementation of the resettlement project. The provincial government of Albay reaffirmed its commitment to inclusive housing programs that provide vulnerable families with safer and more dignified communities. In other news, Albay police have stepped up their crackdown on illegal gambling following a province-wide strategy meeting to strengthen enforcement and boost ongoing operations. Provincial Director Police Colonel Noel Donato Nunez convened chiefs of police to assess current efforts and direct station commanders to intensify operations in their respective areas. Discussions centered on stricter law enforcement, stronger intelligence gathering, closer monitoring of identified gambling hotspots, and tighter coordination with barangay officials and community partners. Nunez emphasized the accountability of station commanders in sustaining aggressive operations and urged residents to report illegal gambling activities in their communities. The Albay Police Provincial Office assured the public of continued police visibility and warned that those involved in illegal gambling will face charges under the law. In the national scene, National Bureau of Investigation Director Melvin Matibag said that the agency has launched an investigation into the claims of 18 alleged former Marines who said they delivered illicit cash to government officials. Matibag said investigators will examine the credibility of 18 individuals, assess the truthfulness of their statements, and summon the personalities they named if evidence supports the allegations. He added that the NBI was deputized by the Office of the Ombudsman, where the group filed joint affidavits and noted concerns about their credibility, citing a legal principle that falsehood in one part of a testimony can cast doubt on the entire statement. Matibag said the probe will also look into other personalities and the circumstances surrounding the press conference announcing the allegations, while assuring the public that the investigation will remain fair and non-political to protect future whistleblowers. In other story, The Commission on Higher Education, CHED, has asked lawmakers to find a new source of funds if the travel tax is removed, warning that the higher education sector may suffer without proper financial support. During a House committee meeting, CHED Chairperson Shirley Agripis said the Higher Education Development Fund, HEDF, which comes from the travel tax under Republic Act 7722, is required by law and not just optional budget item. Agripis appealed to the members of the House Committee on Ways and Means to identify a replacement source of funding, saying the agency fears the education sector will be left behind if the tax is abolished without a substitute. She explained that losing the travel tax funds would greatly reduce money for scholarships and student financial aid, as well as slow down school improvements and digital upgrade programs in colleges and universities. CHED also presented possible alternative funding sources to lawmakers to make up for the expected loss in revenue if the travel tax is removed. In other news, the House Justice Committee on Wednesday ruled that two impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte are strong enough to proceed and gave her 10 days to respond to the allegations. Duterte, who has announced plans to run in the 2028 presidential election, was previously impeached by the House last year, but the Supreme Court dismissed the case due to technical issues. The renewed complaints accused her of misusing public funds during her time in office and of threatening the life of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., a former ally with whom she now has a deep political conflict, though she has denied all accusations. 54 members of the panel voted to declare the complaints sufficient, with only one lawmaker, Quezon City Representative Bong Suntai, voting against the move and no abstentions recorded. If the impeachment moves forward, under the Constitution, the Senate will hold a trial that could bar Duterte from holding public office and end her chances of joining the 2028 presidential race, while her legal team said they expect fair standards similar to those applied in the recent dismissal of complaints against President Marcos. And in the news outside the country, Israel launched a new wave of overnight airstrikes across Iran on Wednesday, as the United States said it has struck nearly 2,000 targets since the joint campaign began, while Iran responded with missile and drone attacks across the region, including strikes toward Israel and U.S. sites in the Gulf. U.S. President Donald Trump said the U.S. Navy is prepared to escort oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz as energy prices rise and Iran threatens to block the key shipping route, while military officials described the American buildup as the largest in the Middle East in decades. Iran's Red Crescent said 787 people have been killed in the U.S. and Israeli strikes, a figure that could be independently confirmed, as Tehran vowed heavy retaliation and attacks were reported near U.S. diplomatic and military sites in places including Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain. Trump said there would be no return to nuclear talks and claimed that most of Iran's top leadership and military infrastructure had been destroyed, while Israel continued targeting sites it said were linked to Iran's military and nuclear programs. The conflict has spread to Lebanon, where Hezbollah launched rockets and drones at Israel, and Israeli forces carried out strikes and moved troops near the border, as thousands of civilians fled their homes across the region, and governments urged their citizens to evacuate. In other story, Iran has intensified long-range drone attacks on Gulf countries, taking advantage of their weak defenses to pressure the United States to end the war, analysts said. Since Saturday, Iran has mainly used missiles against Israel, but rallied on drones to strike Gulf states, with more than 1,000 reported attacks, including over 800 on the United Arab Emirates. The attacks have hit hotels, a French military base, the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia, and the Ras Tanura oil refinery, which had to partially shut down after a strike. Experts said Iran's low-cost Shattered 136 drones are meant to wear down adversaries' resources, as Gulf air defenses are not built to handle mass drone attacks efficiently. Unlike Ukraine, which has extensive anti-drone systems, Gulf countries struggle to jam or shoot down these drones without using expensive missiles or advanced equipment. Analysts warn that Iran aims to pressure Gulf states to push the U.S. for a ceasefire, but the strategy could backfire, possibly drawing the Gulf states deeper into the conflict. And finally, in the news outside the country with reference to the Philippines, the Marcos administration has not yet ordered mass repatriation of over 2 million Filipinos in the Middle East, but is prepared if necessary. DMW Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak said government and private resources, including military assets, are ready for transport by land, sea, or air. Mass repatriation will start only if the DFA raises alert levels to 4, currently applied to Gaza, Syria, and Yemen. Iraq and Lebanon are at alert level 3 for voluntary repatriation, while Iran, Kurdistan, West Bank, and Israel at level 2, restricting new workers' deployments. Over 100 Filipinos in the UAE and Israel have requested return assistance, but DMW is providing in-country support as airspace remains closed. Philippine authorities are on heightened alert domestically, monitoring diplomatic sites and confirming there is no immediate threat to the country. And that's the news at 12, March 5, 2026. We'll be back tomorrow for more news updates. Thanks to our news writer, LJ Lurejo and Naomi Ruth Hernandez. And on the technical side, Tad Bobis. Our Provincial Information Officer, OIC, Marty Gonzalez. And under the supervision of our Governor, Noel E. Ruzal, I am Greg Hallare. Thank you for subscribing. Albay in my heart.